Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, we are going to put a card together using things that you most definitely have. We're kind of using up all our scraps, all those bits that are lying around. But to start with, we are going to also create a little focal point. So simple. This is barely called origami, but I'm going to use that term to create my gorgeous little origami bird to go on the front. Now, I'm cutting 2 lengths of paper here. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. The width of the paper does not matter. Then all I did is I pulled out a couple of different inks. These ones happen to be the Gina K inks, which I have been really enjoying using recently. And then I have also pulled a random selection of stencils. This one is called Mini Random Stars. It's a Crafters Workshop. I think most of these are Crafters Workshop, maybe. But anywho, all I'm trying to do is put a little bit of texture, a little bit of colour, a little bit of pattern, a little bit of interest on these. But you may well have scraps of paper that you have done some gel printing, that you have done some painting, that you've done some, I don't know, anything that you have, you can end up using any scraps. This is actually heavyweight cardstock. This is actually Gina K's heavyweight. I think this is the ocean mist color perhaps. And so this is going to work fine. It doesn't matter if your paper is thick or thin. This works well, so you're fine there. Now, I am going to add this kind of to the 3/4-ish of these sides. Now, if it doesn't work out, we can come and add a little bit of texture later on. I'm just very randomly adding it. There is no rhyme, no reason, and that's okay because this is kind of my favorite kind of play. Now, all you have to do here for the bird is just basically tie a knot. So tie a little knot, and then I kind of, because as I said, this is heavyweight paper, you just sort of eke it out so that it's as flat-ish, but I like a little bit of dimension, so I don't like fold it super tight. I leave that knot with a little bit of dimension. Now, as I did the 1/2 inch one, I realized that actually that felt too thin for me. That was a too little for the bird I wanted, and this guy ends up being a big bird, so I like that. So this is what is going to be my focal point on my card today, and we're kind of building everything around that. Now, I have said in plenty of previous videos that I'm a blues girl. I lean towards blues, and that's okay. I sort of lean into that sometimes, and then other times I try and challenge myself and go outside of those colors because it's okay to do both things. And clearly today I was definitely in a in a zone where I just wanted the blues. So I've gone with some blue inks just to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of here and there. The other side of the bird ended up not having, that was typical. It was where I wanted the color to be. So I just went back and added it in, and that's okay because we don't have to have it perfect every time. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not good at measuring things and I prefer not to measure things. But anyhow, so I've just drawn a really simple pencil outline for the little head of the bird here, and you'll see the shape in just a second. Honestly, so simple. Anybody can do this little bit. I've cut out a little blip for his beak, and then the bottom of his head. Now, as I said, this is so simple. I actually have another video or two, a couple maybe, creating this bird on my channel. And it's just a really simple, gorgeous origami bird that is really quick to make, and yet he's pretty cute. So you can definitely leave it like that, or take the scrap that you just cut and then do the same thing again and add another feather for his tail. But you can certainly just leave it as the first one that you did. But if you want a little bit more dimension, you can add that in there too. And just because I'm going to add a little more, a little more decoration on the end of his tail because apparently I missed it again. Then you could certainly add a little bit of dimension, like a little bit of foam tape here, but I just went with double-sided tape. I was happy just to keep it relatively flat because the bird itself has some dimension as well. Now that we've made the main focal point, let's move on to the background. So I am going to take a couple of strips of this blue paper from the Rainbow Plaid pack here. As I said, I'm going with blues. So for me, I'm just going with blues, and then I went through and tried to find a few different textures and bits and pieces around my craft space that were of this design. Then go ahead and dig into your washi tape stash because a lot of us have one of those, and I just picked out all the blues. I just went for the blues and picked out the blues, the greens, the turquoise, the teals, those sorts of colors. I just picked them out. I've got my paper strips on the right, my bird on the left, and anything that I sort of felt, I tried to get a couple of thick, a couple of thin, maybe not, maybe just all thin, I'm not sure. So pick out 3 or 4 of those. I wasn't sure how many I was going to use. I'm just keeping it really simple with coordinating things and keeping them basically all along the blues thing. But by all means, you could go contrasting as well. I think that would look beautiful. Now, here is my card front, a little card front panel. And again, I just want a gorgeous little matting layer without actually having the matting layer. So I've showed this many times where I just use a piece of mint tape, which is a low tack tape, my absolute favorite from scrapbook.com. And I'm going to take this up, use it around all 4 sides. I am using a little bit of the blue raspberry Gina K ink to create this little border, and I'm going in pretty softly with the ink because it's a medium dark blue, a medium blue I would say, and so I don't want it to overpower what else is going on. Once we have our card front here, this matting layer, I love that we add the matting layer without adding any weight to the card or the cardstock, so that's brilliant. And then this is really just the compiling part, the putting together part, the fun part. I just go for gold. There is no rhyme, no reason to how I put all of these on. I just have them, I sort of picture in my mind a little place where I want them all to cross over. If you like, you could pop a little dot or something to help you picture that if you kind of can't do that in your mind's eye. And that's obviously where my focal point is going to go. It's going to sit on top of. Remember that although these seem quite, quite at the forefront at the moment, they are going to become somewhat background. So here I'm adding in that sheet of paper, that strip of paper that we had. I've got my washi tapes on there. I mean, you could ink some lines if you wanted to. You could do some masking with some of the masking paper and stamp some of the lines so they're like literally on the paper. Just thinking of when someone's sort of running their hands over this and the textures that they will feel. Now, I had some gold thread I could have used. I also had some twine, but here's my problem. I didn't have any of the blues left. I've really only got these greens and a red. There was other colors, but I was like, who said it had to be blues? I don't know why I put these blocks in place. And so I was like, it can be green. It can definitely be green. Green goes. And so we pop some green on. I'm going to put some double-sided adhesive just around the back, and that's going to catch the twine. As I said, I just want this to be about different textures, different layers, without it being complicated at all. This is all things that we all have in our little craft spaces. And I in particular have a very small craft space. So it was really fun to find all these little bits and pieces and these different textures and have a look around and see what I could use up. Now, I guess I didn't really use up anything, but I was inspired by doing that. So that's the main thing. Then, of course, every good page, a few little splatters. So I just put some blue raspberry ink down onto an acrylic block. And I'm going to add a little bit of water because all of the Gina K inks are water reactive, which means you can kind of use them as watercolors. You can either smush the ink pads like I did or put a bit of re-inker down if you want really concentrated solid color. But the ink pad was perfect here. Again, we're just going with all the blues, so not making it complicated and having to color coordinate or color match anything. We're keeping it all going down the same track. So I add some splashes kind of directly up from that crossover point and directly down. That was my plan anyhow. Of course, splashes and splatters kind of go anywhere. I just use a really fine brush and then a medium amount of water to go with it, but experiment to see what splashes you get. I actually also did a video on experimenting with all the different size brushes, all the different mediums and things to see what resulted in the best splashes or splatters. And so I will link that video up in the top right hand corner and down below if you're interested in that one too. And then here's my little birdie. I'm taking some of the blue raspberry ink. We're just staying with one ink for this whole situation. It makes life so much easier. I'm just going to ink up a couple of edges of my birdie just to help him have a little bit of definition around the outside of his features and to help him stand out from that beautiful, beautiful background. But the key is that there is still so much white in the background that actually he's going to stand out just fine. Now, I do have a great tip when you are trying to figure out how to do the little legs for this guy. Now, mine didn't even end up perfect, and I still think it looks just fine. Nothing has to be perfect in these gorgeous handmade cards. I am popping some foam tape on the back of him. I just cut out all my dimensions, and even though these were meant to be little round ones, I just cut out a whole block of them, pop my little birdie on there. Remember, this is now down onto the card base as well. That's where you can see a white border out around the outside. And then here's a little tip for drawing in the legs. If you're not sure, put a piece of little plain paper underneath and see where you want the legs to go. Then you'll be able to experiment, and mine still went wrong, and that's okay because I was just sort of doing this really quickly. You can see from the shadows moving there, I have some beautiful children in the background waiting to go out to a playground, so I'm just trying to finish this card off. I have this beautiful stamp set here. I'm just going to take a very classic happy birthday. I'm happy with this. But this set here, this is from Pink Fresh Studios, and one of the reasons that I was drawn to this is because it has so many sub-sentiment and inside card sentiments here. So I have the happy birthday that is, of course, going to go down the bottom. And then inside the card, I'm going to do a little blurb as well. And that's one thing. This stamp set has heaps and heaps and heaps of these things that you could either put down the bottom of your card, you know, if you've got your main sentiment up the top, and then you could have them lower down or further down, or you could have them inside card like I have as well. So lots and lots of sort of inside card greetings. Now, just to balance this card a little bit more and to finish it off with a little bit of bling and sparkle, again, another texture, I'm just going to add a few plain blue sequins. I did get the iridescent ones out as well, but actually we're going to go all blue for this one. So I hope that you have enjoyed this card. This was simple. This was fun. I really enjoyed this project, and there were no pressures, no dies. It was just really lovely to make. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Please make sure you subscribe if you enjoy this sort of content. Here are some more videos that you also may enjoy looking at as well as the origami bird one. So I will see you next time. Bye!